Hello, everyone. It is yet another, the fifth episode of Prose Notes, a graduate writing podcast. I am one of your hosts, Samantha Demerly, PhD.
And I'm Nolan, PhD student.
It's almost like you forgot.
I didn't know we were going with the intro this time, but that's okay.
Absolutely. No, we just, people need to know who we are every single episode.
It's true.
We're not going to have dedicated
I'm just
listeners.
a mysterious voice behind the podcast curtain.
I'm also a mysterious voice behind the podcast curtain. Don't look at me. Dorothy, no. Well, welcome back to Prose Notes. We're feeling fun. We're feeling goofy.
Had a good weekend.
Had a good weekend. I think both of us are riding the high into finals week, which is a little scary.
Which is almost oxymoronic. I'm going to ride that wave.
Yeah. It's adrenaline.
Until it peters out.
It's not a good high. It's like an adrenaline stress high.
Yeah, for sure. It's finals week here at KU.
Here at KU.
And that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It has been an intense fall semester. Fall 2023 has had lots of ups and downs. I think for me personally, professionally, mostly ups, but there's always tired weeks.
There's stuff that exists outside of this podcast. I'm not just put in a box until you listen to us again. It's been real busy. Lots of new projects going on at work, kind of exciting things in development at the Writing Center, this being one of them. Yeah. And so, this is kind of a nice little bow on the semester for us.
Yes, we are enjoying the kind of decline in activities and meetings and just getting ready for a time of break and hopefully relaxation.
A much-needed winter break.
Yeah, hopefully some sleep, hopefully some video games and catching up on fun.
And so we were kind of talking about what we wanted to do for the intro this week, and I have some writing that I'm working on this week, but it's not very... It's interesting to me, but it's not, worth bringing here. So maybe we thought we'd talk about, what does break look like for a graduate student? Because for me, I sleep. I sleep like a bear. I actually hibernate. And then I just catch up on all the games that I wasn't able to, experience and enjoy during the year. What were yours like? Or what's yours like now as a working professional?
As a working professional, they are a little bit less, it feels a little bit less like a break because I'm still technically working for a lot of December and, early in January. When I was in grad school, winter break was always hard because I try to practice what I preach, but sometimes fail, and I would often set very ambitious goals for a winter break and would inevitably not complete or reach those very ambitious goals. So, it's hard to be like, I'm going to finish chapter 3 over winter break, and then
you're not.
And then you hibernate, and then I hibernated because I needed the rest and relaxation. So winter break as a grad student, very different from other students, other undergraduate students specifically.
Yeah, and there's a research project I'm trying to kind of hop onto. There's research I'm doing on my own in the spring that I'm trying to prepare for as well. So it'll be an interesting. I'll be curious to see how much I get done, and so instead of having that kind of goal for myself, maybe I'll have less of a goal and have a vague, nebulous, just let's get started.
Yeah. Right now, I think my joke with myself about winter break is that I don't really think about December. This is the time of year when my thought process is already into February, March. We're already planning stuff.
A couple months ahead, yeah.
I am so many months ahead that I'm not thinking about December. I'm thinking about January.
I was in December 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. December is already over in my brain. So, well, it's interesting when you're on a kind of academic schedule and I
kind of like it.
I like it too. I'm used to it. Maybe that's why I like it.
Poor Allison, my partner. She just we'll still have work. And I'm like, I get a month off. Yeah. I have homework, but my trade-off is I get months off.
Yeah. You don't really have to talk to anybody as often or as frequently. So that to me is the break part. My little introverted heart appreciates.
Withdraw to my hobbit hole and just do all the things I didn't get a chance to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dear listeners. Today we are giving you another one of these Writing Center 101 episodes. This time we are going to be talking about video conferencing. We're going to, much like the in-person episode that we had last time, we are going to discuss what they are, how they work, who they're best for, how to prepare for a video conferencing appointment, what to bring. And then we're going to kind of get a little bit more candid and talk about what consultants really think of them.
The pros and the cons.
Yeah, the pros and the cons in our Prose Notes podcast. Love a pun.
She went there.
I did. I went there. All right. Well, let's get right into it. This episode in particular is going to be kind of connected to our next one as well, where we talk about e-tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
So video conferencing appointments at the KU Writing Center. These are our synchronous online appointments. Students can schedule these appointments through our online scheduling application, and you can access the video conferencing call through the same place you schedule the appointment. So we have a in-house video platform that students use to access and talk to their consultant. Like in-person appointments, these appointments are a way for you to sit down with a trained writing consultant to discuss, review, read, and revise your writing projects. It's the video conferencing platform's a lot like Zoom or Teams, but it's got this kind of like built-in writing pad where you can practice, where you can paste your work, and you and the consultant can kind of both work on it at the same time.
Yeah, so if you're coming in, if you haven't done a video conferencing, if you've done Zoom or Teams or whatever, and so you're both in the window, but rather than like my screen being, or like me being large on your screen and you being large on my screen, we're both windows and there's like computer tab open with like a Word doc looking kind of thing, and you can copy and paste your document into it, or if you've uploaded before the appointment, I can copy and paste it, or whoever you're working with can copy and paste it. Yeah, so it's pretty nifty.
Yeah. This is, so we use WC Online as our scheduling platform, and the video conferencing, the video platform is built into WC Online. So this is their,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is their in-house platform. And it, I think we at the Writing Center appreciate the fact that there's kind of a middleman or, an in-house system.
It's nice to not have to like schedule a Zoom or a Teams and deal with that. It works pretty smoothly. I haven't had many technical challenges.
Yeah. There are definitely some technical challenges with video conferencing appointments, but they're great. So our next sort of section here is who they're best for. So video conferencing appointments, I think, are best for, students who are a little trepidatious about coming into the center but still want to talk through their concerns. So much like our in-person appointments, they're synchronous. You're scheduling to meet with somebody at a particular time, but you can do it from the safety of your apartment or a classroom or sort of wherever you are. You made a note that they're really good for students who are off campus.
Yeah.
A lot of our graduate students are not currently in Lawrence, and so video conferencing appointments are a great option for students who may not be in town.
Yeah, so if you're not in town, so for example, at the Elps department, just in the Department of Education, right, we have lots of students at the Edwards campus over in Olathe. And so, yeah, they'll use that if they don't want to, make the 40-minute ride over here to Lawrence. I've also had international students make use of this. And I always wonder what time of the day it is when they're calling in. I'm like, that is commitment to the bit when e-tutoring exists. So, yeah, so kind of part of that still, right, is you do have to spend an hour out of your day to make it online. But one thing I think about, too, and it just kind of came to mind when you were talking, is, right, is we have that spot. I think all of us have a spot where we like to write, are comfortable writing. And if that's at home, this can kind of help you stay in your comfortable writing zone where you have all the materials or whatever around you that help you be a good writer, and then you can access that while still accessing consultant in real time. So I think that's really valuable.
We live in a day and age where the accessibility of services is kind of big. And so video conferencing appointments have been one really effective way for us to just reach students where they're at, especially in their home offices where they feel comfortable and know that they can be productive in that space. So yeah, video conferencing can be really useful for maintain momentum in some situations.
Yeah, and so kind of like Zooms and Teams or whatever for your own job that you're familiar with kind of coming out of the pandemic, like this, I think probably helped us get through that a lot. And I think it's really great. It's a really great modality for us to offer because I think it does offer like some really distinct advantages over like an e-tutoring where you're not talking with that person. Because I still think just being able to have that live real-time dialogue is really, really valuable. So I'm really glad that this exists.
Yeah, the international students, I think I had one student I was working with who she was in Japan. So it was like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 10 p.m. Sorry, 10 p.m. where she was. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think I've had a student call from like West Africa, a student come in from Saudi Arabia. Yeah. And I was like, wow, it is like 3 a.m. for you. That is impressive. Incredible. I don't know if I would be so committed.
Yeah. Commitment to dissertations, commitment to graduate projects. We love to see it, but also please take care of yourself and go get sleep. But yeah, no, absolutely. We like video conferencing appointments because they really do just allow us to reach students wherever they are and whenever they are. In whatever time. We're time travelers.
We are time travelers.
Absolutely.
So the next question then, right, becomes how do you prepare for this kind of appointment? How do you prepare for video conferencing? So like any other appointment we have, bring the most recent version of the draft available. It's not strictly required, but I strongly recommend it. It's nice for me just to be able to kind of have it on hand, right? So attach that to the Writing Center online when you make your appointment. That can be really helpful for whoever it is that you're working with. And then what happens is that gets copied and pasted into the pad, and so you can both live work on it at the same time.
Yeah. We do ask students, especially for video conferencing, to kind of prepare their computer. I think this is the one service we have where we get a lot of technical difficulties.
Especially with like audio.
Yeah, sometimes they're on our end and sometimes they're on the student's end. And it's kind of hard to troubleshoot a system when you're not immediately in front of it, when you don't have the hardware right there. So, please just like check your audio settings, check your headphones, make sure they're kind of connected. I've had to ask students to clear their cookies before just because WC Online's a little janky. But yeah, no, kind of prepare yourself for an online conversation, whatever that means for you.
Yeah, and as I think about it, as a worker, right, it is, we've used the word a lot, it's kind of that Zoom space, like being online is different than being on in person, and it's kind of preparing yourself for the challenges. Like, yes, we can have a live dialogue, but there's the trick of like being able to navigate. I'm talking, then you're talking, rather than us both talking at the same time, just because of how the audio channels work. Over an online communication mode like that. So yeah, there's tricks to maybe maximizing that, and so yeah, like anything you do to prepare for Zoom. So yeah. Checking your audio, checking your Wi-Fi, all of these things. Yeah. Good to do ahead of time.
I will say WC Online does not have the blur your background feature, so...
True. If you're in your office or your room, we're going to see it.
We will see it, and, just use that information in whatever way you need.
To prepare yourself.
It's a very small screen, though, so we don't... It's kind of hard to see much other than your face. But yeah. Preparation for video conference, much like in person, in terms of the types of material you want to bring in, assignment sheets, drafts, whatever you want to work on, and then just thinking about those kind of logistical, technical difficulties that might eat into some of your consultation time.
So your consultant will hop on on the hour if it's 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., but you can actually go on and be there a couple minutes early. You can hop on at, 9:55 and make sure, internet's working, make sure you can copy and paste stuff in. So, yeah, you're welcome to be early to that consultation and make sure everything's good on your end at the very least.
Yeah, and then once you're in there, sort of in the heat of the conversation, what a weird phrase to use. As you're talking to your consultant and you're discussing your paper, if you want to mention the assignment sheet, if you want to mention feedback you've gotten from your professor, all of that can still be helpful for your consultant to know, even if it's not copied and pasted into the word pad.
And if you need to, you can copy and paste like a link to like if it's like a proposal, right? You can put the link in for whatever the prompts are, and I can copy and paste that out. So yeah, I actually I use the copy and paste a lot when I work on these, where I'll find a website that maybe answers a point we've been talking about or helps clarify something. And so yeah, you have some interesting options maybe that you don't necessarily have in your in-person or even your e-tutorings. So I think that's I just think it's a really interesting way that we can work with our clients.
Yeah, we like them. I mean, I think I like video conferencing because for me it's that safe, it's a happy medium between meeting in person with somebody and like chatting with them, but also, again, kind of being in a quiet, safe space that feels nice to me, even if it is in the writing center or in my office. I think we do like to warn students that much like e-tutoring, because it's virtual, there's a little bit of a slower pace to these appointments.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a kind of opening conversation or setup in some way.
Just because kind of like I was talking about earlier, just because of the modality, right? The conversation is more explicit turn-taking, just so you can make sure you're hearing what the other person has to say and those kinds of things. So I think the conversation, I mean, it's a good one and it's live, but it moves a bit slower just so you can make sure you're hearing. I probably get, personally in my own experience and practice, I probably get through, in terms of like just raw page numbers, probably one of the slower ones. Just due to the copy and pasting, it can be challenging at times to know where in the document, because an interesting thing about the pad is I can scroll on the pad and it won't move where the client is at on the pad, right? We can look at different parts. Yeah, so I make sure to like italicize or bold, try and find a way to highlight, because it colors the text of, each author of who's working in the pad. So you also have to make sure, you're at the same spot in the pad if you've pasted in like 8 pages worth of stuff. So I tend to kind of work kind of chunk by chunk when I'm working over video conferencing. But yeah, so I mean, really what to bring, it's the usual stuff, right? Yeah. Bring your paper, bring the specific kind of commentary or feedback that you're looking for. As specific as you can be is always really helpful for us.
Yeah. And bring an open mind, I think, in terms of the pacing.
That's the biggest one.
That's always the big one. We want to help you. Online spaces can be really productive for people. Sometimes online spaces can be kind of awkward for people. So just bring an open mind. We're all trying to navigate the paper, navigate the questions in a way that will help you the best. But maybe you do a video conferencing appointment and it's just not your cup of tea. Totally understand. Either if it works with your schedule and your time frame, maybe you come in for a consultation, or maybe e-tutoring is, which we'll talk about in the next episode, maybe e-tutoring is another good option for you to consider.
For sure. So then the pros and cons, or what us workers actually think about them.
What we actually think. This is where we get real.
Grr, that's my first note. No, it's not grr.
It's fine.
Video conferencing is probably my least favorite modality, and this isn't to say it's bad. It's just if there's 3 of them, one of them has to be in place number 3, and this is that one for me.
A bronze medal, still a winner.
It's still on the podium. For me, I think in this modality, I have the hardest time accessing my own strengths as a consultant.
That's really valuable.
Also, though, I think it's kind of that post-COVID. It's actually kind of still COVID, but that notwithstanding, I think it's that COVID, like, Zoom and Teams, like, fatigue.
Okay.
I feel that.
That's fair.
And so, like, I have some classes that are entirely online, and it's just that energy of being, like, on the video chat. I can struggle with if I have back-to-back video conferencing, then it gets really hard for me.
That's absolutely fair. And that's not a fault of the video conferencing.
No,
that's
just
your own fault.
It's systemic. No, But no, yeah, it's just the Zoom fatigue. And yeah, I think, I like being able to establish a rapport in person and kind of the in-person charisma and kind of just connections. I think I can utilize that well. And then I think I have particular strengths that play well to e-tutoring and kind of being the middle version of each of those. I don't know if either of those strengths of mine get utilized to their fullest potential in this modality.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree a little bit. I think if we're ranking them, video conferencing is actually my silver medal. In person, still my gold. But e-tutoring, which we'll talk about in the next episode, is my bronze medal.
So we flip our last two?
Yeah, we flip our last two. I think video conferencing is silver because, like I said earlier, it's kind of my happy medium of I'm talking to you, but it's like the safe, it can be like in a more comfortable setting. I tend to fidget when I talk, and so I feel like video conferencing is like I can
playing with the thing off camera.
I can kind of be fidgeting off camera, nobody notices. But it's a little bit harder to connect with people virtually, and I've been working on that for the past few years, considering we were all online for so long, and some of that video fatigue is still there. But I feel like I've gotten pretty good at kind of making sure that I'm charismatic in ways online that still feel effective to me.
Yeah, and I think for me what it is I have a hard time with the pauses of taking the turns. Just my style of communication. I have to remind myself to do that, and that the pauses are okay.
But Nolan, you're so good at a podcast format, at a dialogue format that's entirely turn-based conversation.
But at least we're still in person.
That's true. We are sitting across from each other.
But my own personal gripes, complaints, I don't know if it's even that strong of a word for either of them. My own personal reservations, maybe. I think it is a really great way. Just if you're not in town, if you're not in Lawrence, you should come visit Lawrence. It's a lovely place.
It
but
is.
It's a great way to get connected to the campus, to get, to meet a person on campus and have that live communication, and to get connected to the work we do at the Writing and Learning Center. So, I mean, it still can't recommend it enough. It's really, really valuable, and it does offer those advantages that I think e-tutoring just by virtue of what it is can't deliver on.
Yeah. No, it's still a great place to, talk through your concerns, your questions, anything you want to related to the document that you're either both looking at or even outside of that document. So video conferencing can be as effective as an in-person conversation if you're, say, in California and you just can't make it to Lawrence that day.
We get that.
We get it. And also are jealous. Why are you in California? But yeah, when we think of video conferencing appointments, I think we're still hoping as consultants that you are getting a sense of interaction and collaboration from these appointments because we're still talking to you. You're still meeting with one of us. We hope that you feel, a little connected to the Writing Center, even if you are safely in your apartment.
Yeah, and honestly, like the in-person, we hope you get a chance to just meet a nice person who's there to help you work through your writing, work through your concerns, and just kind of, again, begin building those relationships and just know that we're here to help you.
Is there anything that we want to mention specifically for grads? Because, our audience. Our grad student audience. Yeah,
and I wrote this in the e-tutoring episode notes, and I'll mention e-tutoring. This is probably by far my least common modality.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I get a lot of e-tutoring, and so part of it could just be I'm a little out of practice with the video conferencing. I do like to use, we have this nice little nook cranny for e-tutoring where we do have two monitors. That really helps. So I can have the appointment notes on the bottom and what we're working on up top. And that really does help me. But notes for grads, it is valuable. I think grads have, and we're all super busy, and that's what I talk about, right? There's this kind of a dependency at times on e-tutoring, but I think making the time, if you have the capacity to take an hour, and I think in a week most of us can hopefully find an hour, utilize that hour because you get 2 hours with us per week to talk to a person, whether that's in person or over video conferencing. I think if you're exclusively e-tutoring, I think you should really interrogate why that is.
Yeah. I think that's a really helpful comment, because we're going to talk about this in the e-tutoring episode, but mixing and matching appointment types can actually be
really effective, yeah.
Really effective, really productive, because you're getting services in slightly different ways. That's going to help you see your writing in slightly different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to give you the ability to kind of think about and talk about your writing in slightly different ways across all of the modalities. So if you are somebody who, consistently does those e-tutoring appointments, working a video conference in there somewhere, maybe every other week, maybe every week, that can be really complementary to the e-tutoring appointments.
And even along those lines, if you're not available at the time that you usually do e-tutoring, that makes you work with a new person at the Writing Center. And I think that's really valuable to get is, to work with different consultants and get different eyes. We all have different approaches. So I think it's valuable.
Yeah. And if you like in-person appointments and you can't make it one week, schedule video conference.
Yeah, exactly.
You can still get that conversation. Well, yeah.
I think that's it for this episode.
Wow, what a short one.
What a breeze.
We're giving you all a break by making this one short and sweet.
Well, we hope you have a happy day and happy writing.
Happy writing, y'all. Happy finals week. Take care.